So, after months of waiting, the Tower Defense X Halloween event has finally been released. Or at least half of it. At the time of making this video, John and the rest of the developers are hard at work on the final 2 chapters, giving us a decently long half-time between the earlier parts as well as the later ones. With that, I think now is a better time than any to touch on all the lore that's been revealed so far in this event. I plan on doing a bigger deep dive once the whole event comes out, but right now there's just enough lore to where I want to talk about the first 2 chapters, because between the wave dialogue, design decisions, and the addition of a new tower, I think that we've gotten the most world building in this event so far than in any of the others combined. So without further ado, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's dive into the story so far. Beginning in the lobby and Chapter 1 itself, we see many more depictions of Void Hearts everywhere. As a reminder, the Void Hearts are symbols tied to the Calamity and the Void, and in the Tower Battles event, we entered one, which sent us back in time to the time of Tower Battles. Judging by the 4 large floating ones in the lobby, I believe that the helicopters fly into these portals and take the GDA army to the locations of the 4 chapters. I don't think we're going back in time this time, because it just really wouldn't make sense given the wave dialogue and such. One thing we do see from the Void Hearts now is that they have been taken over by the Awakened. The Awakened are very interesting. They were a cult that worshipped the Calamity and other beings from Hell, but they possess the color palette and abilities of the Void. Specifically, the ability to corrupt towers and people and turn them against each other. We already know that the Void and the Calamity are linked in some way. My personal theory is that the Void is the god of all of the Calamity creatures and is the original starter of the zombie apocalypse. This is actually furthered by the Awakened possessing a great deal of control over the undead, as well as the fact that they have necromancer bosses in their ranks. Anyways, let's turn our attention to Night 1. In normal mode, it is revealed that the GDA arrived at the ruins of a city in order to set up an FOB, or Forward Operating Base. What the GDA is doing all the way out here is currently unclear. However, if I were to guess right now, I'd say that we were trying to secure the Relic Tower that we end up using at the end of the Battle Pass. During Nightmare mode, we are talked to by the boss of the night, the Heretic. The Heretic's name is actually very interesting. Usually a Heretic is someone who strays away from a typical religious dogma, but in the cult, the Heretic is almost like a priest to the undead. To the Calamity, he is no heretic, he is their prophet. Therefore, his name could imply that there is some sort of godlike entity opposing the Calamity. Otherwise, he'd have nothing to be a heretic of, given that he is devoted to the worship of the Calamity. We learn that the Horde used to be innocent people who were turned into undead servants, and that's really about it for Chapter 1. In Chapter 2, however, we enter the Factorium, an abandoned factory created by Dr. Xenon that the Vile Engineer has taken for himself. The Vile Engineer has corrupted and stolen many of Xenon's robotic weapons, including Predators and Avatars. It even seems like he's created his own with the Nail Golems. We also get the confirmation here that Xenon is not working with these guys. Vile Engineer has many pieces of dialogue calling her out for her stubbornness and likens us unto her, with there being no doubt in my mind that he's referring to Dr. Xenon. In normal mode, we instead hear from John. I don't think this is a random John Tower talking to us. I believe that this is meant to be the actual John Roblox, aka the leader of the GDA in this game's universe. The reason I say this is because John mentions that wherever he is, he has Behemoth tanks taking care of some of the enemies. Given that Behemoth is an endgame tower that players currently do not possess, it would stand to reason that John is out facing up against some powerful creatures. After the Vile Engineer's death, that's really about it where the chapter and the lore ends. There is one thing though. John, at some point in normal mode, actually mentions that the Vile Engineer has a base on the other side, and that is pretty huge. To the other side, what he's referring to is the portal that is inside the Factorium map, which is actually connected to a Calamity thing. So I'm guessing that chapters 3 and 4 were actually entering the Calamity's domain. So far we've only been in our domain, but using the portal, they've been portaling in from their own dimension, so I believe we are going to enter that dimension for Chapter 3 and 4. I think we're also going to encounter Xenon at some point and be forced to work with her to stop the Awakened. Whatever happens, I'm really excited to see Chapter 3 and see how this all ages. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Remember to like and subscribe, and that's really about it. Bye.